Hello and welcome back to American Literature Class 17, 2020. In the last class, which was class 16, we discussed Huckleberry Finn, chapter 10, 11, 12, and 13. And we have talked about the common feature of Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn and and Herman Melville's Moby Dick and Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass, and we talked about Edward Said's comments on Herman Melville's in his book. Today I am going to refer to an American critic who died, I think, this year. His name is Harold Bloom, and he was a leading critic whose ideas and comments on Huckleberry Finn are very crucial for anybody who wants to study American literature. I would like, before getting into the chapters, to take a paragraph that he wrote about Huckleberry Finn. We will read it, we will contemplate on it before getting into the chapters overview. Okay, this is Huckleberry Finn. As you can see, I always try to offer these pictures to give you a feeling of how he is like. He's a boy living in rags, on the run all the time, okay, on the woods. Now, Harold Bloom says that Huck Finn's American vision has this in common with Captain Ahab's. Ahab, who is the protagonist of Herman Melville's Moby Dick, okay, who wanted to capture the whale that is under the name Moby Dick. Captain Ahab's or Walt Whitman's, he talks about the leaves of grass, that Huck too would strike the sun if it insulted him. This is the Americanness that is embedded in these three major works of American literature, okay? Ahab was so stubborn. He wanted to hunt the whale. He lost his life. He lost the ship. But he wanted to have the whale. Okay? And Ahab, by the way, is a biblical name. We will talk about this later when we talk about Moby Dick. So Huck is like Walt Whitman's poetry, Captain Ahab in Moby Dick of Herman Melville. Huck would strike the sun if it insulted him. This is extremely strong statement about the Americanness, about the Americans being shrewd, stubborn, okay? They cannot be tamed easily. The three best American books, Huckleberry Finn, Moby Dick, Leaves of Grass, have in common also that they are each the most American of books. This is one another. So we have two common things between these three books. It is important for you to situate Huckleberry Finn in context, and these give you this context, these works, okay? Walt Whitman is a romantic writer, as you know. Melville is considered a romantic writer. Walt Whitman is a romantic poet. Herman Melville is a romantic novelist, okay? Although he contains a lot of things, he includes a lot of things in his, and Huckleberry Finn is, or Mark Twain is a realist leader or figure, realist writer. Twain's masterpiece is essentially comic. Melville's is tragic. Whitman's is beyond characterization or categorization, except that despite its humor and its Emersonian hopes, remember that he was alive during Ralph Waldo Emerson time. Hopes for America, we remember it best for its dark shadows. So, Bloom believes or tells us that while Mark Twain was comic in his Huckleberry Finn, Melville was tragic, and Whitman is beyond characterization. And these form the most American of all books written in America. Each one of them gave America a certain facet of identity that made it independent from the British culture at the time. He says again, Huckleberry Finn, shrewd and grim, as it is sometimes compelled to be, remains unique in our national literature for here means because it's affirmative force. It is affirmative, okay? Huck does everything that goes against the current. He takes the adventures, he takes the risk, he goes on a raft in a river, and he has the raft split into two pieces, and he goes into a lot of trouble, okay? Fecund in its progeny, as diverse as Kipling's Kim. Kim is like an adventure of a boy in India, but he's an English boy. Kim is a novel written by Rudyard Kipling, and it is embedded in imperialist enterprise, or in the big game as it is used in the novel. Okay? Kim is written by the British writer Rudyard Kipling, who was also a proponent of imperial and colonial project of the British in India. Okay? Now, his book is diverse because it talks about an adventure of a boy, and it's all around a boy who travels in a company of a priest from the Tibet, not a Christian priest. Now, Bloom compares between Huckleberry Finn and Rudyard Kipling's Kim. Kim is the name of the boy in Kim, which is the title of the novel. And by the way, Edward Said analyzes Kim in his masterpiece book, Culture and Imperialism, in light of his exquisite analysis of imperialism and literature. Now, Eliot's The Dry Salvages, Hemingway's The Sun Also Rises, and Mailer's Why Are We in Vietnam? The book is likely to go on engendering our strongest writers, with only Leaves of Grass as a rival in that role. Yeah, he believes this book is diverse, it talks about adventures, it talks about a lot of things. This is what Harold Bloom talks about Huckleberry Finn. Now, I want to get into the overview of the chapters. In the last chapter, we covered chapter 11, 12, and 13. I think 10, 11, 12, and 13. Today we are going to cover chapter 14, 15, and 16. I remind you that the whole story consists of 43 chapters. So in the next classes, we are going to finish as much as we can so that we get into the analysis, and we are going to rely on Harold Bloom interpretation series of Huckleberry Finn. Okay? Chapter 14, titled, Was Solomon Wise? Fooling Poor Old Jim. The rattlesnake skin does its work. Everybody of you knows the story of King Prophet Solomon, when he was encountered, or when two women came to him disputing over or fighting over a boy. Each one claims that the boy is her son. What was his off-the-cuff solution, or the solution that he made up on the spot? He wanted the servants to bring him, or the guards to bring him, a sword. And he put the kid on the table and told the women that he's going to cut the boy into two halves, one for one woman and the other for the other. What was his message? King Solomon's idea. His message that he wanted to know who is the real mother of the child. So the fake mother agreed to cut the boy into two pieces, while the real mother, the real natural mother, did not accept, and she succumbed to the fact that the other mother can take the boy, lest the boy is killed. Because if he is cut into two pieces, then he is no longer hers. He vanishes. Now, this is a new thing. What do you think of Huck understanding or perception of Solomon decision or Solomon idea of cutting the boy into two pieces? Okay? He's questioning the whole situation. He is questioning the whole situation. And this tells you how he was told biblical stories and how he is always rebellion against the legacy of the religious tradition. Remember when he was told the story of Moses, he responded by saying to himself, why should I learn about a dead person? I don't relate to dead persons. Dead people do not relate to me. And now he is criticizing Solomon's decision. So Mark Twain again wants us to know his position on religion through Huck's comment. Humorous, sharp comments on religion. That was dominant at the time. Remember, religion posed a big problem to Americans on the American soil. Remember Ralph Waldo Emerson when he protested against the church encroachment on social life, and when he said that these people are not honest enough to control others' lives, and he said a very famous statement, the church acts as if God is dead. They don't believe in God. They act as if he is not watching them because they commit fatal mistakes on reality. Okay? Let us go for chapter 14. Huck and Jim discuss the Old Testament. Old Testament is the Torah, because the Torah tells the stories of Solomon, stories of Abraham, the stories of Moses. Okay? The New Testament is the Bible or Al-Injil. Huck and Jim discuss the Old Testament story of the wise King Solomon, who was asked to settle a dispute over who was the real mother of the baby that one of them was carrying. While Jim insists that no really wise man would have suggested cutting a baby in two as a solution to a dispute, Huck maintains that he is missing the point. So it is Jim that who is not aware of the message behind the idea of proposing, not cutting, proposing to cut the boy into two pieces. Huck maintains that he is missing the point. So Huck here is a step further than Jim in understanding. Is this racist on the part of Mark Twain's making the boy more aware of the message of the Bible than Jim, the older man? In the end, Huck gives in to Jim. So he takes the highway and stops discussing it with him, demonstrating a willingness to give in to a slave. And this is not usual for a white man or even a white boy to give in to a slave. That Jim has the temerity to argue with a white person. The willingness. Temerity is willingness to argue with a white person. A radical shift in self-perception has taken place on the part of both Huck and Jim. I want now you to go and write for yourself a paragraph about this radical shift in self-perception that took place on the part of both Huck and Jim. Okay, I want you to read the whole chapter and write a paragraph or two and consider this an exam question. What is the radical shift in self-perception that took place on the part of both Huck and Jim? I'm not going to talk about this here. I want you to explore for yourself. By Huck's reckoning, they are only 3 nights away from Cairo. Cairo, Illinois, not Cairo, Egypt. You know that a lot of Cairos around the world, not only the Cairo in Egypt. Illinois is a state in the Midwest in America, signaling a free state and the end of Jim's status flight from danger. Now, these are what people call in anthropology as the rites of passage. The rites of passage, where they are approaching a new turning point in their life. Chapter 15. However, they run into a heavy fog. Now they are in a dilemma. They get into a problem. However, they run into a heavy fog, signaling their entry into a dangerous situation, and Huck temporarily loses both the raft and Jim while attempting to find a place to dock at. The fog is a symbol of vagueness, a symbol of turmoil, a symbol of losing thread, losing sight. Okay? What follows is a terrifying description of the river. If you think it ain't dismal and lonesome out in a fog that way by yourself in the night, you try it once, you will see. If you don't understand how is it like to be on a boat or on a raft on the river and the fog strikes, imagine if there are different rafts or boats or steamboats on the river. What is the result of any encounter between these who do not see each other? Yeah, he says that if you think it ain't dismal and lonesome out in a fog that way by yourself in the night, it's really terrifying. You try it once. It's like you are living in a cave, and you will see. It's like warning, threatening, making you aware of the dangers that revolve around a person. In this situation, multi-layered darkness. You are in the heart of darkness. It's even worse than blindness. When Huck finally locates the raft, Jim is sound asleep at the steering oar, and there is a shift in tone from serious to mischievous. Now, Huck does not leave a chance to be mischievous, funny, okay, without seizing it, as Huck transforms the fear and anxiety that both have experienced into a prank like a practical joke. He's just joking. He's just a hilarious person who wants to be happy. After awakening Jim and pretending as if they never had been separated by the fog, Jim assumes he must have dreamed the whole thing. Yeah, he's portrayed to be a simple, naive man. Okay? So he was convinced by Huck. It seems that Huck has a powerful storytelling ability and potential. Okay? They both here, nevertheless, they too continue their journey, and as they get closer to Cairo, Jim feels, wait. But when he's finished, Huck shows him that it really did happen and that Jim is in fact just being, oh my goodness. Yeah, here. After awakening, Jim pretending as they now have been separated by the fog, this is told by Huck. Jim assumes he must have dreamed the whole thing, and he goes through an elaborate interpretation of what each detail symbolized. Yeah, he get into a situation where nothing happened, but he get into the analysis of what happened and the symbols of what happened. But when he is once he is finished, Huck shows him that it really did happen, and that Jim is in fact just being the butt of a joke. Now Jim is not happy. He feels that he is betrayed by Huck, stating that he felt like dying when he thought he had lost his friend. Yeah, I lose you, and I feel that it is the end of it, and you are just joking and making pranks. Nevertheless, the two continue their journey, and as they get closer to Cairo, we said Cairo, Illinois, not Cairo, Egypt, okay? We are still in, yeah, in America you will find places called Cairo, Lebanon, etc., etc. There are all sorts of names. Alexandria. They both become anxious, though for much different reasons. Yeah, they are approaching a new place. Jim is going to be freed because he's going to step into a land that is slave-free land, okay? And Huck is going to be back. So it's like a separation. It's rites of passage. Jim's nervousness is the result of getting closer to the long-awaited freedom he deserves, while Huck's apprehension is more complex, for although he senses it is right to help Jim escape his terrible lot and that he has made a promise to a friend, he is at the same time breaking the laws of the same society he is running from. Yeah, he's breaking the laws to which he belongs, he is running from, and also he helps a slave to escape, and helping a slave to escape at the time was a major felony, a major crime. Chapter 16. At first prompted by Jim's stated plan to enlist the help of an abolitionist, we discuss the idea of abolitionism. Abolitionism is the idea of stopping slave trade, or stopping slavery. Abolishing slavery, stopping slavery, ending it. To steal back the children that were so wrongfully taken from him. Now, there is a social dilemma here. Jim wants to have his kids back. Huck becomes frightened and starts to paddle back. So, prompted by Jim's stated plan to enlist the help of an abolitionist, he wants to have one of these white Americans who believed slavery should end, to bring back, to steal back the children that were so wrongfully taken from him, from Jim. Huck becomes frightened and starts to paddle back. He wants to go back. But this changes when Jim acknowledges Huck as the only white man who ever kept his promise to him. Yeah, it is interesting that Mark Twain wants us to see how white Americans are unjust towards the slaves, and the only white person who is honest and keeps his promise to a slave is a boy, an innocent boy, an ignorant boy, who now look at the statement that the story is about a battle of innocent heart and deformed conscience, and who wins over the other in the end? The innocent heart. Okay? A defining moment occurs when Huck encounters two men who are looking for runaway slaves. Now he is in a dilemma. These are the bounty hunters. Yeah? How is he going to act? Faced with the choice of doing the ethical thing or succumbing to an unjust law that requires turning in his friend Jim. So Huck is now with two choices. The ethical choice to cover up his friend Jim and to tell that he doesn't know him, or to mislead these two bounty hunters, or to abide by the unjust law that requires turning in, that requires to tell about, to spill the beans about his friend Jim. What do you think Huck is going to do? Or is he going to to abide by his ethical principles or to abide by the unjust law. Huck decides to protect Jim and tells the men he is traveling with a white man. That's it. This is the triumph of the innocent heart over the deformed conscience. Curiously though, Huck still understanding that he did the right thing. He acts according to instinct and what feels right in the moment. I weren't man enough, he tells us, hadn't the spunk of a rabbit. By the end of this chapter, the raft is split in two by a carelessly piloted steamboat. Separated from Jim, Huck makes his way to shore only to find himself surrounded by a pack of barking dogs. Yeah, frightening situation. And this is the end. We will stop here, and next time we are going to focus on chapter 17 and onwards. I want you to go and read the introduction of Edward Said of Moby Dick, and if you have time you can go and read Edward Said's chapter on Kim in order to see the differences between Kim and Huckleberry Finn. These that are two boys. Thank you very much and see you in class 18. Bye bye for now.